Most anglers walk straight past it. They head right for the new arrivals, the display cases, the big promotional end caps with the flashy packaging. They spend 45 minutes eyeballing rods they will probably never buy, and then they leave without ever turning down that back corner of the store where the real deals are sitting on a rack. I'm talking about the clearance aisle. That weird little section that smells like marked down potential and mostly gets ignored by people who assume if something is that cheap, it must not be worth owning. And I'm here to tell you that thinking is costing anglers real money every single time they walk into a tackle shop. Before we get into it, hit subscribe if you want honest fishing advice without the sales pitch. I'm Jerry Davis, and after spending enough time in tackle stores, fishing forums, and bargain caves to know what actually belongs on that clearance rack versus what is worth grabbing before somebody else does, I want to walk you through exactly what to look for, what to avoid, and how to think about the clearance section the next time you're standing in front of it. By the end of this, you'll understand why some clearance items are genuinely better deals than the full price gear sitting right next to them. What kinds of products usually belong in clearance for good reason versus products that are there simply because the store needed shelf space, and how to walk out with quality fishing tackle for a fraction of what most people pay. Let's start with the most important thing to understand about clearance fishing gear, because this changes everything. Items end up on clearance for a few different reasons, and those reasons matter. The most common one is that the manufacturer updated or replaced the model. The old version gets pushed to clearance not because it stopped working, but because the new one has a slightly different handle color or came out with a new name. The performance difference between the clearance model and the current one is often very small, and in some cases, it is zero. A crankbait that gets a fresh paint job and a new SKU number does not automatically swim better than the version sitting on the clearance peg for $3 less. Keep that in mind every single time you're in that aisle. The second reason something shows up on clearance is that a particular color or size did not sell. This is especially common with soft plastics, hard baits, and jigs. A specific color got ordered in bulk. It did not move, and now it has to go somewhere. Does that mean the fish reject that color too? Not necessarily. Sometimes, a color that does not sell well in a retail environment actually performs fine on the water. It just did not look exciting enough under fluorescent lighting for someone to throw it in the cart at full price. Anglers pick baits based on their own confidence, and a lot of confidence comes from packaging and the way something looks hanging on a peg. If the fish did not get a say in what went to clearance, you should not assume clearance means the bait does not catch fish. The third reason is overstock. The store or the distributor ordered too much of something. It did not sell through in the expected window, and now the margin pressure means it needs to move. This is probably where you find the absolute best clearance deals, because the product is current, it is not damaged, and the only reason it is cheap is that someone ordered too many units. Now, let's talk about what you should actually be picking up when you walk through that section. Hard baits and crankbaits on clearance are often the best deals in the store. Here is what most anglers overlook. Crankbaits are one of the most expensive categories in fishing tackle on a per unit basis. A quality hard bait from a recognized name can run anywhere from $8 to $15 or more, sometimes significantly more for something like a balsa body swim bait or a premium crankbait with through-wire construction. When those same lures show up on clearance at $3 or $4 because the color got discontinued, you should be picking up as many as your budget allows. The bait still runs at the same depth. The hooks are the same. The buoyancy and action are the same. The only thing that changed is the store stopped ordering it. Anglers consistently report that discontinued colors sometimes become their most productive lures precisely because the bait gets used constantly once it is no longer easy to replace. You fish confidently with what works, and you stop worrying about losing it as often. A $30 investment in 5 discontinued crankbaits can fill a meaningful gap in a tackle collection without the guilt of losing one on a submerged log. What to watch for when grabbing clearance hard baits is the hooks and split rings. Some clearance lures have been sitting in a display basket or bin for an extended period, and on certain items, especially anything near the water or humidity, the hooks will start to show rust before the lure itself shows any wear. Check the hook points. If the hooks are pitting, corroding, or dull, the bait is still potentially usable because you can swap hardware for very little money. A pack of replacement treble hooks costs less than $2 on the clearance rack at a lot of stores. If the body, bill, and finish look solid and the hooks just need to be replaced, that is not a problem. It is a project that takes about 90 seconds with a split ring tool. Do not let bad hooks on a clearance bait stop you from picking up a quality hard bait at a discount. Jigs are another clearance category worth your attention. Finesse jigs, flipping jigs, football jigs, and swim jigs regularly show up on clearance when a line gets updated or a color does not move. The thing about jigs is that the performance comes from the shape of the head, the hook gauge, and what you put on the trailer. A clearance jig with a solid hook, a quality head, and a collar that holds skirt material in place is perfectly capable of doing exactly what a full-price jig does. Anglers should look at the hook size relative to the head size, check that the eye is properly aligned so the jig runs straight, and verify that the skirt material is not brittle or dried out. If those three things check out, the clearance price is just a bonus. Here is where I want to pump the brakes a little, because not everything in the clearance aisle deserves to go in your cart. Fishing line on clearance is a category that requires some caution. Monofilament and fluorocarbon have a shelf life. This does not mean a line that has been sitting on a store shelf for 2 years is automatically garbage, but it does mean you need to think about it before buying. Mono can dry out over time, especially if it has been exposed to direct light or temperature changes. You may notice it feels brittle, has lost some flexibility, or has memory that did not come from the spool. Fluorocarbon is generally more resistant to this kind of degradation, but it is not immune. If you pick up clearance line, give the spool a close look. Is the outer layer discolored? Does the line feel stiff when you pull a few inches off the spool and flex it between your fingers? Does the label show UV damage or fading? If the answers to those questions concern you, the $2 or $3 you saved is not worth a broken off at the knot on your best fish of the year. Braid is typically more forgiving in terms of shelf life, and clearance braid from a reputable brand can be an excellent pickup if the packaging is intact and the color looks consistent across the spool. Just verify the line, weight, and length are what you need before you buy, because clearance line is usually final sale. Spinning reels on clearance are an interesting category because this is where the reason for the clearance price matters more than almost anywhere else. A spinning reel on clearance, because it was last year's model from a well-regarded brand, is often a phenomenal deal. A spinning reel on clearance, because it came back from customers with complaints about bail issues, rough drag, or handle wobble, is something else entirely. The challenge is that you often cannot tell these apart just by looking at the box. Here is what I would suggest. If you recognize the brand and the model from fishing content, reviews, or conversations with other anglers, and you know it has a reasonable reputation, the clearance price may genuinely reflect a model refresh rather than a performance problem. If you have never heard of the brand and the reel is priced so low it seems wrong, that low price may be doing exactly what it is supposed to do, which is move a unit that would not sell at any higher price point. A spinning reel at $8 that has a grinding drag and a bail that closes inconsistently is not a deal at any price, because it will cost you fish and it will cost you frustration every single time you use it. When inspecting a clearance reel, turn the handle smoothly and listen for any grinding or roughness in the rotation. Engage and disengage the bail a few times. On a spinning reel, the bail should close with a clean snap. not a rattle or a wobble. Check that the handle knob spins freely. If the store allows it, pull a little line and feel how the drag releases. A smooth drag is not something you can see. You have to feel it. Reel quality on the clearance rack ranges from a great reel at a great price to a reel that belongs in a clearance bin because it never belonged anywhere else. Take 30 seconds to check, and you will know which one you are holding. Fishing rod blanks do not expire the way line does, and rods are one of the clearance categories where you can find legitimate value. Composite and fiberglass blanks especially tend to show up on clearance because those materials are less fashionable than higher modulus graphite right now, and stores phase them out to make room for newer graphite models. But here is the thing. A medium-heavy composite rod with a decent set of guides and a solid reel seat is an excellent tool for crankbait fishing, moving baits, or fishing with beginners who are hard on equipment. Fiberglass and composite blanks are more forgiving than high modulus graphite, and for certain applications, that forgiveness is not a compromise. It is exactly what you want. A faster, more sensitive graphite tip telegraphs a lot of information, but it can also pull hooks on fish that are still turning with the bait. A softer, more parabolic rod keeps the hooks loaded through the fight. If you can pick one up on clearance for $20 or $30, it is worth understanding what that blank is built for before you dismiss it. What I would check on a clearance rod is the guides. Run your finger through each guide ring and feel for chips, cracks, or rough spots. A cracked guide ring will destroy fishing line in a very short time, and that replacement guides can cost more than the rod itself, depending on who does the work. Most chips in guide inserts are visible if you look at the ring against a light source. Tilt the rod toward a window or store light and look for any break in the ring surface. If the guides are clean, check that the tip top is secure and straight. Then, check the reel seat. Grip the reel seat and try to flex it against the blank. It should feel solid. Any wobble or looseness in the reel seat is a problem that will only get worse once a reel is attached and the rod is under load. Terminal tackle on clearance is almost always a safe buy, and this is where anglers leave money on the table constantly. Hooks, swivels, split rings, weights, and similar items show up on clearance when a size or finish did not move. These items do not degrade much in storage. If the packaging is intact, they have no moving parts to inspect, and the savings can be substantial. Extra wide gap hooks, finesse hooks, offset worm hooks, and circle hooks all periodically show up on the clearance peg at tackle stores. If you already know what size and style you use regularly, buying 3 packs of clearance hooks at half price is straightforward math. The same applies to split shot weights, bullet weights, and drop shot weights. These are consumable items you lose on the bottom anyway. Buying them on clearance is not a compromise. It is a basic spending decision. Soft plastics on clearance are worth picking up in colors and styles that you already know you will fish. The main thing to watch for is the packaging. Soft plastics that have been improperly stored can stick together or dry out if the seal on the bag has been compromised. Open the bag if you can, and check that the plastics have normal texture and are not fused. If the bag is still sealed and the material feels normal, clearance soft plastics in proven styles are entirely worth buying. A bag of 10 packs of clearance stick baits or creature baits at a fraction of the original price is the kind of purchase that makes sense every single time. Now let's talk about where to find clearance deals, because the in-store experience is only part of the equation. Base Pro Shops operates what they call the Bargain Cave, which is a dedicated clearance section inside many of their retail locations. This is worth walking through every visit because the inventory rotates and what is there one week may be gone the next. Cabela's runs similar clearance events seasonally, and Outdoor Life and other outdoor media track those events, so watching for their coverage can tell you when the biggest markdowns hit. Walmart's fishing section clearance varies significantly by location, and is often not organized in a way that makes clearance items easy to spot, which means checking the clearance sticker prices and looking at the regular outdoor department section, in addition to any dedicated clearance area. Online, Tackle Warehouse, Fish USA, and Tackle Direct all maintain clearance sections with rotating inventory, and checking those regularly means you can catch quality gear before it sells out. The most important habit to build around clearance fishing purchases is simply slowing down in that section of the store. Most people speed through it. They glance at the bin, see mismatched packaging or a couple of weird lure colors, and keep moving. The anglers who find the good stuff are the ones who actually stop, pick things up, and know what to look for. It takes maybe 5 extra minutes, and the difference between a passing glance and an actual look is often a quality crankbait for $3 instead of $10. Let me know in the comments, what is the best clearance deal you have ever found at a tackle shop or fishing retailer? I am genuinely curious, whether it was a lure, a rod, a reel, or something else entirely, because anglers find good stuff in unexpected places. And some of those stories are worth hearing. Here is the takeaway from all of this. Clearance fishing gear is not inferior fishing gear by default. It is misunderstood fishing gear. Some of it is there for legitimate reasons, and you should walk past those items. But a substantial portion of what ends up on clearance got there because a model was refreshed, a color did not sell, or someone ordered too much inventory. The bait still catches fish. The rod still loads and casts. The hooks still hold. The only thing that changed is the price tag. And that is a change that should work in your favor every single time you pay attention to it. Stop walking past the clearance aisle and start treating it like what it actually is, which is one of the few places left in a tackle shop where you can consistently spend less and get more than you expected. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks clearance means broken. I'm Jerry Davis, and I'll catch you in the next one.